night edition of Maga Monday. Uh, just finished 14 hours on the phones for Trump. I got a very close competition with somebody from Massachusetts that's making calls. Got about a lead of about 160 on them. I had that much wider lead, but I don't make calls on Sundays, and so I came back and found it pretty tight, and so I'm gonna have to build my lead up again, uh, or start making calls on Sundays. I don't like personally don't like making calls on Sundays. It's that's God's day. Give that one to God. Uh, um, hey, I'm not in the office. I'm out here in my comfy couch. Got Fox News on the TV. I watched uh, the interrogation of Sergeant Shultz today on the on the Oversight Committee. The It was, you know, I know nothing. I know nothing. It was really pretty disgusting, and some people got pissed off. I don't blame them. Uh, Nancy Mace felt like it was shit day today, saying that the woman was full of shit, and she was full of shit. But she had to kind of grandstand a little bit. Some other people did as well, and then of course the Democrats were blaming everything on the gun, not the assassin, but the gun. The gun is evil. The gun is evil, and they kept bringing up mass shootings, and the mass shootings that they talk about are not mass. The overwhelming majority of mass shootings are not committed with long guns. They're committed with handguns, and they're committed in urban landscapes, and where legal gun ownership is pretty much prohibited. Uh, so how well do those gun laws work in Washington and in Chicago and everything? Shit, Chicago. Uh, they don't, because the criminals are the ones with the guns, and the law-abiding citizens are their victims. It's they create their narrative, but their narrative is wrong. And they got to be called out on this. And this is one of the things when they bring this shit up, they need to be called out on it. And called out on it when they do it, not called out on it like later on. Somebody will go on a TV show. You call them out when they do it, and somebody's got to have the balls to do that, because they talk about all these mass shootings, and there's a lot of them. The classification is if four or more people are shot, but and they bring about the capacity and everything else of the weapon. One of the worst mass shootings that ever occurred. It was the record holder, probably up until the point when uh, the concert in Vegas, the Jason Aldean concert, that guy was shooting out of a hotel room at Mandalay Bay. That's how long it was, and it was done with lever action rifles and pistols. In the 1800s, 58 men and one woman, 59 people, mass shooting. Duffy's Cut, Malvern, Pennsylvania. 57 Irish immigrants, well, 58 8 Irish immigrants, 57 men and one woman were killed in an area where they were working. They were all working on prepping the railroad bed for the Pennsylvania Railroad, in a section referred to as Duffy's Cut, because the contractor that had that section of railroad bed was last name Duffy, and he hired these Irish immigrants, and an anti-immigrant group came in and murdered them, and then said that it was that they had cholera, and buried them in a mass grave under the railroad bed. Years later, uh, these graves were exhumed, and they found that they were all shot. They were all shot. The, so that's the worst. Was the worst mass shooting in American history up until the shooting in Vegas. So their narratives are a- absolutely ridiculous when it comes to these guns. Uh, Gonna talk about the um, you know, like I said about Sergeant Shultz, but and their narrative there. But also want to talk about you know how our side reacts to tragedies and stuff like this, and stuff, and then how their side reacts. And uh, I draw the comparison here with Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who passed away the other day. When someone on their side, someone liberal dies, how our people react is we we pray for her immortal soul. We uh, we say kind things about her. We place emphasis on the good things that they've done in life, and speak well of the dead. The others, when something befalls one of our people, they look at they you take a look at what happened to Trump, and they well, it's gotten nastier. It hasn't gotten better since he got shot. It's really gotten nastier. It's gotten uglier. I've seen it in the calls. I've heard it in the calls. The people are more set off than ever, more triggered than ever. Um, it's bad. It's really bad, and I'll tell you how bad it is. Is I uh, just this past weekend I had my car all decorated up to go to a boat parade, to go to a Trump event. I had a was pretty decorated up and looked great. And on my way home, I stopped at Dunkin', get me and my wife, my son, and my daughter-in-law an iced coffee. And I'm pulling through the drive-through, and the guy goes to hand me the tray. And normally they have the trays doubled up, but they didn't this time. So I'm still holding it, and I asked the guy to take it back and double it. And he reaches out and he flips it right into my car, all over me, all over the side of my car. Two cups came in on my lap. It was all over the place. He literally went like this and flipped them in. And I was upset. I threw the cups out the window, and I still was ready to like say, "Oh, it was just an accident," until I looked in that drive-through window and saw all the people laughing. This was intentional. I went through that drive-through hundreds of times. But I never had my car decked out with Trump. I had two American flags, two South Carolina flags hanging from my windows. Big Trump thing that went over the whole hood of my car. Magnets on my doors. These big magnets that said Trump 2024 on my doors, and Ultra Maga and all this stuff, and on my car. And this was done deliberately because I was a Trump person. Now, all the people that work in there they're pronoun people, and that didn't bother me. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone till I go through. Now, I went to contact the management. I got no response from them. So went through corporate. Corporate referred me to the franchisee, and the franchisee has not returned any phone calls. So Dunkin' Donuts and I are parting ways. I'll go out of my way to go to the Black Rifle Coffee Company. Uh, I don't need their Dunkin's woke coffee, and I certainly don't need Starbucks woke coffee. I'll I'll go to BRCC, and there's another joint downtown I might try out too. Getting back to this assassination attempt, we got some things that aren't coming out. There's a lot of misinformation going on. Misinformation is a nice way of saying lies, and people telling stories. There's a lot of, you know, the media is behind some of it, but there's a lot of lunatic fringe that goes on social media. They might take something that'll have an ounce of truth and expound upon it until it gathers a life of its own, and you know, like that. But I wanted you to take a look at a clip here that I made because something I thought was odd about this suspect, and I'll be back in a moment. No one has brought this up, but it's just an observation I'm making here. Uh, this guy's head is shaped odd, and I mean, it's just odd, and it made me look up any kind of genetic kinds of abnormalities that would cause a person to have a head shaped like this. And I ran across this. No conspiracy theorist. I'm no conspiracy theorist, but I do know when I see something odd, and that is definitely odd. And it's been sticking in my head. I worked in the public school system for 26 years. I've seen kids who had different forms of developmental, hesitate to use the term mental retardation because now that people get messed up, they get pissed off about that. But this guy here, I think, had some kind of genetic abnormality with him that made him. He was a loner in school. He was desperate for acceptance, and he found somebody. Somebody found him and wound him up like a toy soldier and let him go. I think it doesn't take much to push somebody like that. They're malleable, and somebody used this guy as a weapon. I'm not saying it's an international conspiracy or anything like that. Uh, there's these encrypted conversations, though. Makes people wonder. That are on gamer platforms. That sounds a lot like tradecraft by bad guys, but I could be wrong. It could just be two kids talking on a game board that went through a proxy server. When you have a VPN, you could do that. You can make it look like you're in another country, and that's how people can get different content on different streaming services. Because if Netflix suddenly thinks you're in the United Kingdom, it opens up other programming that you can watch. So for people to think necessarily this is a foreign actor, maybe not. Maybe domestic actor using a VPN, like that. Yeah. So there's that, and it could, like I said, it could have just been kids talking back and forth, trash talking each other while they're playing video games. I got a son that does that. Oh my God, it's hilarious to listen to him trash talking people when he's playing first person shooters. And, so it could be that. But somebody on there could have pushed him to do something that may have been outside his character. Because, like I said, because seeking acceptance from peers is very important to people who have developmental problems. And, and this is all just theory. It popped into my head when I saw that the cranial structure of that kid, that guy. It just it screamed developmental genetic issues. If I'm proven right, fine. If I'm proven wrong, fine again. Uh, it, it's just something I wanted to put out there because nobody else is putting it out there. And if he has some kind of issues like that, the investigating officers already know that. And not a lot of information is coming out. And a lot of people are screaming cover up because of that. But, excuse me, I'm going to yawn. Because it is late at night. And I was on the phones for 14 hours today. So I could maintain my lead over this other person from Massachusetts. So I'm tired. So this is a very late Maga Monday video. The it really does come to mind that this person could be that way. And like I said, if I'm right, I'm right. If not, oh well. Somebody else, the FBI really is. People are screaming conspiracy and cover up because they're not hearing much out of the FBI. Uh, if there's somebody else involved, that's good police work. They could be running things down that we don't know about. So I wouldn't just jump to the conclusion that the FBI is trying to cover things up. They might be trying to uncover something. So I don't trust the people on the 11th floor of the Hoover building as far as I could throw them. Uh, but I sure as hell trust those special agents, supervisory special agents, even the SACs, some of them. That's when you start getting into the career administrative state people, when you get above special agents in charge of field offices. Um, so I have faith in the investigators from the FBI, not the bureaucrats. And it's just like I got faith in the investigators, the Secret Service frontline people that are protecting. A lot of people are criticizing them. I want to draw an analogy here. Uh, Here you have, I don't know how many people remember this, but there was a head of counterterrorism in the FBI named John O'Neill, and he was screaming to high heaven about the that he felt that Bin Laden was going to make an attack on the World Trade Center because uh, it was all the signs were there. And Louis Freeh wouldn't listen to him. Freeh wouldn't listen to him. Uh, forced O'Neill into retirement after the Cole case. He was leading the investigation of the bombing of the USS Cole, and they forced John O'Neill into retirement. Uh, they created a circumstance where he had to retire because there was a scandal. They they caught him in a bit of a scandal, but he was screaming to high heaven that something bad was going to happen, and they didn't listen to him. And then what did we get? We got 9/11. He knew about the flight schools. He knew about all this stuff. He knew about the student visas, and Louis Freeh wouldn't listen to him. We got 9/11. The CIA didn't listen to their GSR contractors when they needed more resources, and the State Department didn't listen to them. And what did we get out of that? When they didn't listen to the people on the ground, the GSR contractors, we got Benghazi. Now you got the administrative state not listening to their people on the protection detail of a former United States president. And they didn't listen, and they almost lost their protector. So it's like it's a repeating cycle. Over and over again. The administrative state did not listen to their people on the ground, and their people on the front lines. And because they don't listen to them, they think they know better. This is the shit you get. So, pretty much talked out myself tonight. I'm going to get some sleep because I got to get up real early to go to the grocery store before I put in another 13-hour day on the phones. So, stay safe. God bless.